Oh,
Guys, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Advisory Board podcast, where we bring in experts that can give you guidance that's actionable and current to drive your franchise and your business success. And I've got with me kind of a rare treat today, guys. Simon Severino. If you might have bumped into him in social media, he's done a 1,300 podcasts, but he's an expert in helping folks learn how to accelerate revenue, get creative with their sourcing, increase their close rates. We're going to talk about a lot of things today, but Simon's the CEO founder of Strategy Sprints, and he's also, he's a Forbes author. He's a top TEDx speaker. He's a triathlete. He's a fascinating guy that's got a lot of knowledge that we want to try to unlock in a short amount of time today to give you some really valuable insights. But Simon, before I move on into the topic, tell us a little bit more about you and welcome to the show today.
hey Dave, hey everyone. Happy to be here.
So what else should we know about you and Strategy Sprint, Simon?
22 years ago, I did fall in love with one question that my clients were asking me. I was strategy advisor in one of the big advisories, and they were saying, Simon, if you need more people, no worries. I can fly in 20 more of my executives from all over the world. You need 3 more days? No problem. We have to solve it. If we don't get out of here with a go-to-market strategy and an execution plan, no worries, we'll stay longer. This is so important. If we don't have a plan, an executable plan on how to enter the market, crush it in the market, stay in the market, how should we take all other decisions? So this is the main decision that then will influence all other little decisions during the week. And when I saw that, I said, guys, this is how important this is for you guys. And he said, yeah. All right, I'm in love with this. So it is emotionally interesting. It's intellectually challenging. Let's go. 22 years later, I'm still doing only one thing and went a little deep into that.
Yeah, well, good. And that's one reason why I was excited to have you join us today. I mean, you found a passion for sales strategy. I think if we had more time, you and I could sit down and probably blab about this for hours and hours. There are 3 pillars of what we want to talk about though today, guys. That's a very large conversation, not a 35-minute conversation, but we want to talk about how you can increase your pricing power. We want to talk about how you can increase your win rate, and we want to talk about how you can increase your sales velocity. Right now, Simon, we were talking about this off mic, but we're observing the same trend across most industries right now. Can you tell us a little bit, like, what are you seeing right now as far as the clients you work with, the industry you work across many industries? What is kind of the standard, lead volume equation look like, and what's happening with your clients across multiple industries right now?
So the CEO of the Pool Corporation, in his earnings call that I watch all the time because it's on my watch list, he said our lower tier pools, the cheaper pools, have a dip in sales of almost 40%. And our higher tier pools, the super expensive ones, they're selling like always. So I think that's telling you the state of the economy in the US, which is 70% of the economy of the world. So it's a microcosm. The economy is not doing well. The markets are doing well, but that's a gap that cannot go along very long. And so in the context of sales, you have low ticket items which are harder to sell, a buyer which is very cautious and thinking twice before investing anything. And then you have high ticket sales, which is easier right now. And so I'm in the high ticket space. So I'm less affected from that, but I see the numbers, and it is something between 30% and 40% of a slowdown right now, which is causing many people headaches. So it's really timely and relevant to talk about this thing. What can people do to really fill pipeline, strengthen pipeline, bring some pipeline certainty in? Because, who can sleep well when the pipeline is uncertain? Come on.
No, nobody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you help people with lead gen. Now that fills the pipeline, right? But still, those people in there, are those the right people? Are we positioned in the right way? Are we catching up in a way that they're 80% ready to buy? What do we do in that conversation? This is where I come in and say, all right, guys, first of all, your pricing needs 20% increase. And they panic. You kidding me, Simon? If I increase my price by 25%, I'm losing all clients. That's what they think. The reality is, if you do 3 things before that increase positioning, so we have to work on positioning first, on the branding, on what they compare you with. And let me give you a quick exercise that everybody can do at home. It's behind me here. If you're watching, it's the blue tool. One of the 3 core tools of the strategy sprints method is the so-called positioning tool. And that is just 3 questions. Ask yourself these 3 questions before you enter a sales call, before you write your website, right? The first 10 seconds of your website should tell this. Hey guys, I'm here to serve you. This is what's coming for you in the next 18 months, in the next 24 months. And this is how I can make sure you are ready for what's coming. So that's a high ticket offer. And if you're positioned that way, price doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is this guy legit? Show me some reality check. Show me some proof. Show me people in my industry, in my age, in my situation that went through this that I can actually trust, because I don't trust you, you're a salesperson. So show me people like me. Let me talk to them, or have a video of them explaining it, because I don't want to pest them, of course. But if there is a video of them explaining it, perfect. And I want to hear what was their start? What was their skepticism? Why did they buy it? What happened? What did they pay? And what was the result?
Right.
So if you have 3 of those videos, I'm in. I don't care if the price is A or A plus 12% or A plus 25%, because I care about, is this the right thing for me that solves my problem right now? And is this guy legit? Can I trust it? There is a reputation risk, a financial risk, a time risk. Do you have something that manages that? Are there exit options? What happens if it doesn't work? And if you have an answer to that, I'm in. When can we start? So you're shifting the conversation. You are not talking hourly rate anymore or day rate.
Right.
And you are not talking nitty-gritty features, which nobody cares about. I have a problem. Can you solve it? Then let's go.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and I think that's a natural tendency that a lot of people that are, let's say, in the sales process, even in the marketing process for lead generation, they get really caught up, try to differentiate on what do they get? There's a great phrase for this. They get caught up in the thick of thin things. I know that we're going to shift into this in a moment and talk about how the power of your pricing and the power, really what we're talking about is the power of the value, your value proposition, right? Because pricing, it should be an afterthought to a proper sales process, my personal opinion. That shouldn't be, you shouldn't lead with it, and it shouldn't be what closes the deal. They should be ready to buy, and it's a matter of them figuring out, how do I just afford to pay for what this service is that I know I need now? But how there are a lot of people that get caught up early in that pricing fear. Like how have you coached some of your clients that are like terrified of talking about price to overcome that and make that not the focal point of their sales process?
Well, first of all, there is a time investment and a time component, and there is a monetary component. And the time component is often much more important. If you're selling technology, you're selling time. Actually, I can take time from you. I can take headache, hustle, friction from you. If, let's say you're being called by somebody that says, I have a dinner for the 40th birthday of my wife, and we are in the garden. It's starting in 30 minutes, and the toilet is broken. Do you think they care about price right now? I think they care about how fast can you come.
Yeah, I think you're
So
right.
that's the time component. Or if you're a marketing agency, we coach a lot of marketing agencies, and what they forget is you are asking them to deliver some content. You will ask them what their message is. You will not just do ads for them. You will ask them, hey, who is this for? What is it for? What does it solve? You're asking a lot of time from them. So be very clear and specific around the time expectations of your program. What are you expecting them to put in terms of time?
Mhm.
When you commit on that, and that's the harder negotiation, but if they are willing to commit the time, the second resource, which is money, will just follow.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I want to shift our focus because in the software world, so it might be easy for some folks listening in to say, well, yeah, great, but what does that have to do with, someone who wants to buy a franchise? What does it have to do with someone who wants to get their floors replaced? And yet it's the exact same. So I just want to equate, this that we talked about the software part of it. You did give a great example of the toilet being clogged, but let's say I'm selling flooring. I mean, I've put in, I don't know, thousands of square feet of flooring in my life. I know how to install it. I can do a lot of things. I could build a deck if I wanted to. I chose not to. I didn't have time. I don't have time. And so I'm willing to pay a premium to have somebody come and do that for me, because my time, I'd rather spend my time coaching baseball or hiking in the mountains with my family. Like there's something much more valuable to me. But if you don't connect that dot with me, right, as the buyer, if you're coming in just like trying to slash prices and talk to me about the cosmetics of the project, like I can make it look nice too, but what am I really buying? I'm buying my time back. That's really what most people are, not just in technology but almost every service out there, even restaurants. That's why so many people eat out. It's like, I don't want to cook tonight. Good, they're saving time, right? It's almost the universal. Have you found an example where that's not the case, Simon, where they're not just trying to save time?
Yeah, you're talking about franchise. I made a mistake selling franchises that I can share here. So the strategy sprints method became a franchise, became a certification, and became a franchise model. So people can now become certified and run the strategy sprints method. They have access to the brand and to the processes, as long as they are in good standing, right? As long as they pay. And my landing page, the first one was, guys, you get 274 tools, the best sales strategy tools. It took me 18 years in the trenches to build them, with the makers and shakers. And now you can get 22 years condensed in a couple of weeks. You just get directly access to these super tools. Guess what? Nobody needs tools. Who needs tools? Nobody needs tools.
Yeah.
So of course, that first landing page didn't sell anything until I sat down and said, okay, what's broken here? What am I missing, right?
Yeah.
So what's the actual reason why? So first, who is this for? Okay, this is for somebody who was running a business, sold the business. Now they don't want to build the next business. They want to just have a fun life, being a coach to entrepreneurs, having a high profitable, high margin life. They hike a lot, they work out every day, they play with their kids, they walk with their dog, and in between they do a couple hours coaching. They make a lot of money and they're happy. That's it. And they can do it from the beach, from the woods, from wherever they want. That's actually what they want. And what are they trying to avoid? So note for you, what is it that your people really want? And second, what is it that they hate? They hate having to build a brand, having to build 274 tools. Being that technical is boring for them. They want to help entrepreneurs double sales. That's their passion. They don't want to sit on a desk and build spreadsheets. That's boring to them. So they want to be in the action with the entrepreneurs, being Jarvis to the Iron Man and being with Iron Mans, because that's where the action is. So I changed the landing page. It went better since then.
I think it's funny. Like one thing I want to highlight, guys, is even someone like a Simon, right? Simon obviously knows what he's talking about. He knows sales strategy, but I've done the same sort of thing before where I've caught myself one time when I was selling on features and I was like, oh, what have I done? Like, how am I possibly talking about features right now? And it's really not about that. It's about helping people map the benefits to their pain. And if you cross that bridge, you win because you're helping to solve a problem. Yeah, it's funny though. It's okay when you screw stuff up in your strategies. You also have to be able to, like Simon, just be humble enough to say, "Oops, that was a miss," and adjust, measure, adjust, measure, adjust. But that's a topic for another day. But I just love the fact when people get on and they share, like, "I screwed up." I think people cue into that a lot better than the chest beating and the Maserati and Lambo stories. Like, so this is cool. So you change your landing page, totally different result, but because you focused on the actual reason why they were looking for you in the first place. They were looking for time. They were looking to avoid. And I love that you brought that up. People will spend a lot of money to avoid something they don't want to do, like dishes. That's why we eat out, right? Or like just the more important things in life.
And when you're building something, let's say you're a cook and you're cooking, of course, you see recipes everywhere and you see cooking tools, right? So it's normal. That's why if you're a builder, if you're somebody who is in the trenches, this is why you need a sales coach, because the sales coach will look at it from the outside, completely emotionless, and will call you out from your buyer's best perspective, right? For the people that you are here to serve. And in the end, you care about them because they pay. So, but he is on their side and it's easier for him because he's an outsider. He didn't build the whole thing. It's not his baby. So he doesn't have any emotions attached to it. That's why it's helpful to have a coach. And I have a sales coach myself. I'm a sales expert and I have a sales coach myself for this reason, because when I build something, like right now, we're launching the Chinese version of the book, the Strategy Sprints book. Now, I have no clue about China. Never been there once. So what do I know about the country? Nothing. And so I'm starting from scratch. I assume that I will learn every hour, every week until we crush that promotion. And that will bring a ton of certifications and franchisees from that region. But I have a coach and they understand the region and they call me out and say, Simon, you can't just do the same US promo in China. That's not how it works. So we need a better plan. This is not a plan. And I go, oh my God, I have to sit down again. Yes, you have to sit down again, make a better plan. And so, all right, let's go.
I love that. Well, so we've talked, I think I appreciate you talking about like the if we encapsulate this part of the discussion, creating value and creating a lot of value that aligns with the actual pain points that your clients have and the things they're trying to avoid. There's a lot of value there. So don't undervalue yourself, right? You have the power to charge more. Price is not it shouldn't be a scary conversation. Really, it should just be it should be relational to the amount of value you've provided or can provide to the customer. Let's talk a little bit about win rates, because especially with the markets being down about 30%, let's say across the board, 35%, somewhere in that range. People have to be able to win a higher percentage of their deals, or they have to be able to source they have to find some creative ways to source deals, which maybe we can talk about as well. But let's talk about how do we increase win rates on sales teams with volumes being down.
So when I started the Strategy Sprints method, I wanted to double revenue in 90 days. And everybody said, come on, Simon, that's too ambitious. You will never do that. And I said, I'm not just going to do that. I'm going to do that on repeat. It will work every single time. And I gave myself 10 years for that. Now it's 22 years later. And the three components are, if you want to double sales, you have to increase by 25% pricing power and then increase the price. Increase by 25% the win rate, and that's realistic. We will see exactly how. And then increase by 25% the sales velocity, and we will unpack also that. Those three things, they compound to plus 99% revenue, which I feel comfortable saying we doubled revenue. And it's not just doubled once, because those systems, like your lead gen systems, a closing system, a follow-up system, an email template system, those things, they keep on giving. They are there. It's your docs. It's your Google Docs. It's your spreadsheets. It's your talking points. It stays with you. So that doubling is now a system that will keep on giving. So we've increased pricing power in the first month by 25%. We now want to increase the win rate by 25%. How to do that? First, low-hanging fruit. And again, you can do this exercise right now, listeners. So take a pen, write it down. You want a talking time around 28%. So you are the seller, you talk 28% of the time, you listen the rest of the time.
Mhm.
Your current talking time, I don't know you, but I'm doing this 22 years, getting 5 sales recordings every day. My estimation is your talking time is in the 60s, around 60%, 70%. The younger you are, the more you talk. And then you have a win rate of 10%. The older you are, and the more you have trained sales and practiced sales, the lower is your talk time, the higher is your win rate. It's that easy. So start recording your sales calls, being it Zoom, Teams, whatever it is, record it and have an AI tell you the percentage. I have one. If you need one, hop on a call with me, strategicsales.com, and then we can put it in place. But you just have good questions, a set of good questions, and then you listen. That's the first thing to increase the win rate. As easy as it sounds, it works.
Can we break it down for a minute? Why? Like, why does that work? Like, some people might think it's counterintuitive. Like, well, if I'm selling, I've got to be talking, I've got to be selling. But I'll just share this thought. Like, nobody wants to be sold, but everybody wants to buy, right? And it's a bit of a paradigm shift. But you tell us, Simon, you're the expert here. Like, why does increasing the amount of listening change the win rate so dramatically? So 60% talk time, 10% win rate. 28% talk time equal, what do you generally see? What's a range of win rates that you'll see in that if people are doing it right?
So if they're doing it right, their talk time is 28%, their win rate is above 50%. It's 50 to 70%. Now, depends on the talk tracks. That's why then we refine the talk tracks. There are 8 steps in closing a high-ticket deal. And for each one, we need powerful questions. Can be just 2 questions per step. That's the yellow thing behind me. The yellow pyramid is the 8 steps of a repeatable close. A repeatable close means you have in each section, you have 2 powerful questions. You ask them, then you make a 16 seconds Obama silence, and you listen and you take notes. You take notes live, like a whiteboard. You are literally writing down what they're saying in front of them. And that answers your question. Why does it work? Because people hate being sold. Nobody wants to be sold anything. Do you want to be sold anything? Nobody wants to be sold anything. What do we want? We want to be seen, heard, understood. That's the only thing that every human being wants.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean,
we want to be here, heard, seen, understood. How do you do that? By listening and by, mirroring back. Oh, this is what I heard. And the best way is to do it because it's online. My people, I train them to sell online, right? With a whiteboard.
Yeah. Well, I find that accelerates a process, right? When even internally, when we work with our team and we're trying to help people solve their tech issues in franchising, right? If you're not repeating back and then rehashing the things that they've said, like often you'll hear something and go off on a tangent that has nothing to do with their core values, their core needs, their core pain, what they're trying to avoid, what they're trying to solve. And so you can waste 20 valuable minutes and lose their trust because you're not listening. But if you're repeating back, it doesn't have to be like, I repeat back word for word, but you got to be able to recap that in a tactful way so that you can shorten
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. Word for word and like a 12-year-old are 2 things that I see happening out there. And those things are insulting. Don't play Siggy Freud, Mr. Psychotherapist. That's not a therapy session, okay? It's a conversation between human beings. So don't play the psychologist. It's not the appropriate moment. You can do that in your spare time. But right now, right here, they are trying to take a decision, the best decision, and it's complex. And you are the guide that helps them navigate through all the decision trees of their decision. So 2 things not to do. one-on-one mirroring their own words. They know what they just said. You don't need to repeat it. That's why we prefer whiteboard. Just write it down and you have it there. And if they nod, you have an agreement, you move on. If they have a problem, they will tell you, no, that's not what I said. I didn't say 24,000. I said 23,000. Change that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, some people say, even some sales coaches, they say, explain it to me like a 12 years old. You know what? Even a 12 years old feels insulted when you do that. Speak like a human being.
I've had people say that to me, and I was like, that's kind of weird.
Insulting.
Yeah, I think so. Or frankly, it undermines their credibility. You're like, why do I have to talk to you like a 12-year-old? Or
Exactly.
Yeah, agreed.
What is kind to do is not to use technical terms. So for example, I wouldn't say a conversion rate. I hope I'm not talking in these terms. I could say, qualified leads, conversion rate, and all this jargon that sounds smart. I wouldn't do that. I would say, how many people are you meeting per week? How many of those become clients?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not asking for your conversion rate percentage.
Yeah.
And if I say that, then I will just say what conversion rate means. What are we converting from where to where?
Yeah, good point. It's funny because that's a term that we use quite a bit, conversion rates, but I always get a blank stare. Even with sophisticated people leading big teams, they're like, and it's also an ambiguous term. Some people say, oh, well, conversion rate means from a new lead into an appointment set or a new lead into a closed deal. And in the franchise development industry, they look at that as the entire lead to close ratio when they use the word conversion rate sometimes, which I find odd, but I've also worked in a lot more industries than some folks. So there's no universal. So even if it's not above their their understanding level, it's also ambiguous. So get rid of ambiguity. I'd say to second your point, right?
We can say it in first principles. We can say, okay, how many people did you talk to? How many people did you call that were on your website this week? How many of those did you schedule an appointment with? How many of those appointments got an offer? How many of those offers got signed? How many clients did you onboard?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everybody can answer those questions in every industry. It doesn't matter.
And that's 5 conversion rates.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love it. Well, so let's circle back because we're talking about increasing win rates. And I think a couple of key things that I just want to highlight. Listening is mission critical. I'll share a personal anecdote on that. I worked in an organization many years ago, younger in my career, and I was in charge of national sales with a group. There were like 30 people on the floor, and we'd have our weekly team huddle, and there are about 30, 35 people with leadership in the room, and they started tracking some metrics and create a leaderboard. And it was the average talk time, meaning it was just time on the phone. That wasn't like them actually talking, but the average time on the phone that the sales team spent was about 2.5 hours a week, which, as you and I both know, is not very good. But my talk time on the phone, just time I spent on the phone, was about 27 hours. And they're like, what are you doing? And they're like, you leaving your receiver open and going to lunch? I was like, nope. I just spent time talking with people, and I would listen. I'd ask them questions, and I would listen. And I'd get the right people in meetings. I'd host webinars, and I would anyway. So I just spent a lot of time listening to the market, and I was 150% of quota that year. And they were like, "What are you doing differently?" I'm like, I get on the phone with people, I listen to them, and I ask them questions. I try to understand their stuff. This isn't rocket science, but just stop pitching people. That was my advice to them. They didn't like that, by the way, but because they wanted to do it the 1992 playbook, and that doesn't work. But it didn't even work then. But people are a lot less amenable to that now. But so listening, I just want to summarize. We want to listen more, Simon. In addition to that, and having you started going down the yellow triangle, and I think we kind of diverged. So I want to kind of circle back. So I think you've got some nuggets there we didn't uncover. So you talked about having a defined kind of approach to a sales call. Do you mind kind of circling back to that and sharing a little bit more about having stages and questions? And you started going down that road, and I think we left it.
Yeah, there's a full science in each of these practices. I'm telling them quickly, but there is a full science. And in the 90 days strategy sprints coaching, we take 1 week for each of those practices to be installed, implemented, coached, tried out. Then there is taping. So we watch the recording, we improve that, like basketball players watching their tape and then improving the footwork and the team work and all that things. So and the practice is really in the little things. Don't you think that an NBA player knows how to stand on their legs? I think they know how to stand on their legs, but they're practicing, they're watching their legs work and improving, saying, if I do this 15 degrees angle a little bit different, he can't push me away next time. So I will try 15 degrees angle of my knee over the next 8 hours. Let's go practice. Who's practicing with me? I need to train this 15-degree angle of my knee.
Yeah.
And for every profession, there is their angle. For a sprinter, it's another part of the leg. For a tennis player, it's another part of their body. But every industry has their bottleneck. There is one part of your practice that if you practice that this week, you're solving your current bottleneck, and you will increase the overall result, the throughput, generally by a higher amount than if you just refine everything a little bit. That's bottleneck coaching that we use. So month 2, win rate bottleneck, we increase the win rate. In each stage, we want specific 2 powerful questions that you feel great about asking, and you have practiced them. You see how they land. You see that they work. Because when you ask them, the other side goes, ooh, and you see them working. That's a good question. And then they get going, and you see them after the call more light up and more confident and more clear. Then all right, I did a great job. And now you can stay very calm, very neutral, and say, okay, what's the next best step from here? And they will say, when can we start? Or can we have a next meeting? Can we continue the conversation? Okay, let's schedule something. And you stay neutral, they are excited. This is important. And it happens only if you ask good questions and listen. Third part of the sprint is now increasing by 25% sales velocity. This is a bit harder.
Yeah.
And if I cannot go into all the nitty-gritty in this session, people can download those things on strategysprints.com later.
Cool. Yeah.
Velocity is made of 2 things. We want to first try and then second try, because sometimes first try doesn't work. First try is, let's create a series of emails that creates so much value. You are kind of solving their problem a little bit, but not completely, just via emails with videos, emails with checklists, emails with helpful stuff in it. And those 12 emails in 12 days, they can shorten your sales time from awareness to closing by 25%. Now, sometimes it works. And if you're selling directly to one decider, that works. And if they're reading emails, then it works. But sometimes you're selling to somebody who has a full committee. They have like 5 departments that have to sign that. Then that doesn't work. So for those cases, the second line of attack is, okay, let's go to the other side of the funnel. We have current clients. What else do they need? Who is the happiest client right now? What else do they need? Who is the most pissed off client? What do they actually need? And then let's talk to them. Hey, I think you're pissed off, right? Oh, yeah, I am. Why? Well, I was expecting this. I'm getting this. All right, let's get to work. Let's make this better. And then after you've solved that, they will, again, be much more high frequency, super positive, and go, my God, you turned this around. And then you can say, nice to hear that. By the way, who else needs this?
Yeah.
And you have created a referral. And if you do this on repeat, you can create a little referral system out of that. If you teach now everybody in the team to do this, call the most pissed off clients, call the most happy clients, and get a referral.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
that increases sales velocity by 25%. Sounds again so easy because it is easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and there's some really interesting research out about referrals. I just want to back you up on this one, Simon, that some customers, when they're happy, and the key is happy customer, right? So when they're happy, they'll give up to 11 referrals. But you have to keep asking. So one of the things that I have to coach people on, and I feel like sometimes their skepticism is you have to ask. You make 0% of the shots that you take, you hit 0% of the balls you swing a bat at. Like, you have to approach it as the customer. If I'm treating them right and they're happy, they might have someone they need, but you're also training them to think about giving referrals, even if they don't have one today. The fact that I've asked them for a referral, 3 months from now, when someone says, oh my gosh, I've got this problem, I really need to solve my sales velocity, they'll say, oh, I didn't have a referral then, but I know someone you should talk to. It's Simon. And so it's all about the process too. If you have a process where you're training your clients, you set that expectation early in the sales process of, hey, by the way, a lot of our clients, they love working with us enough that they want their friends and their family, their peers, whatever, to enjoy the same thing, whether that's new floors, a roof, or buying a franchise, or whatever you're doing. Then you've primed the pump. So you're training them to think about building a referral network for you.
Every Monday, I coach a group of entrepreneurs in our private mastermind. And they bring me how they ask for referrals, and we refine that. The first obstacle is, I don't want to even ask, Simon, because that comes across greedy or needy. I don't want to be needy or desperate or greedy. So the first thing is to double check. Are you making this about you and your sales? Or are you making this about, do you need somebody who needs this? Because you are in the desert and you have water, another person is thirsty. Would you tell them about the water bottle? So when you shift that, it's not about me, help me, give me. It's about, do you know somebody who needs this? And should we inform them? What's the best way to inform them?
Yeah.
You see, there is no me in the equation. So that's the first thing, the proper talk track, which is very simple. It is, who else needs? Do you know somebody who needs this? And what's the best way of informing them about it? That's literally what I'm asking. And then, you can create automated emails that go out, etc. If you have high volume of clients for software companies, we create automated systems that ask them. But in the end, it's this question. And the second one is that you make it easy to be referable. That means you treat them with respect. You treat them in a way, and you will report also back. Sometimes I give a referral and I don't hear back ever. That's not very professional, right? If I send you a client, a good way of dealing with it is a quick information. Hey, thanks, Simon. I just wanted to give you a heads up. They landed. We had a great talk. I think they're going to start. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's professional. And some people even send, some thank you gifts. Not really needed, but at least keep the loop, close the loop, right? They landed. Thank you. I see this. I'm grateful. Maybe we can, schedule a call where we make referrals for each other. Just closing that loop and being a professional partner on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah, you're 100% right. I've given out and received lots of referrals. It's a strategy that we operate by, and it works very well. But whenever I get a referral, especially from a new referring partner, I make it a real point to talk to them. A call or even an email or a text, something simple, just to say, hey, it didn't work out. They actually needed something a little bit different. I referred them to somebody else. What they need to feel is that referral, that relationship that they're trusting you with, that's like their baby. Sometimes it's like a 40-year relationship that they're kind of giving to you and saying, here, they need some help. Can you help them? They want to look smart because they referred that person to you. So even if you can't, close them, right? You've got to make sure that they leave with some value add. and feeling like $1 million, and then your referring partner looks smart because they referred them to you. That's kind of how I look at it. And I think we're pretty well aligned on kind of that strategy.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if people want to go deeper, and they say, "Oh, wow, but this was fast. I couldn't take notes. I was in the car or I was working out." You can go to strategisprints.com and you can download all of these things. You will find the tools. They're open source. You can download them.
Mhm.
And if you want to talk to us, push a button, land on our calendar at strategisprints.com. We're happy to talk.
Yeah. Simon, you're fantastic. I know that you and I broached three main topics today. Accelerating your velocity, increasing your win rate, and also making sure that you've got, I just about forgot the third one, the increasing the pricing power. But as we're kind of wrapping up this thought process and this dialogue about increasing sales, I would feel remiss if we didn't maybe throw a fourth nugget in there a little bit, which is, how do you help when lead volumes are down? People still need to increase the number of leads they're getting. Do you have some recommendations that people should be thinking about that are creative sourcing, creative lead generation ideas that work when general volumes and the old well we've gone to for the last 5 years is kind of drying up? What are some thoughts you've got along those lines?
Sure. And the best way to study that is to study how people do it instead of how they talk about it. I can tell you, or you can watch how I'm doing it. Today, I have posted on LinkedIn once that got 40 comments. So that's Simon Severino. I've posted on YouTube a video that got some engagement. I answered every single question. I posted on X, which is Twitter. That got a conversation going. And I filled an event with that, which is a workshop about pricing power, which is coming up in 3 weeks. And I filled it just with these 3 little moments of sharing something.
Mhm.
My team also does reuse that in form of a blog and newsletter, etc. So I put in 10 minutes a day to share valuable content from my journey. I'm not making up anything. I'm doing stuff. I'm messing it up. I'm learning from it. I'm sharing it. So my
Yeah.
YouTube thing was about how I'm learning to invest my own money. Because, the first 20 years, I learned how to be great at sales. Now, when you're great at sales, you have a ton of money. What do you do with that money? Nobody ever told me, my parents never told me how to keep money. And so I started this whole thing about learning how to keep money, right? How do I invest that money? And I need different buckets. And so that's a channel just where I share my journey. I'm not an expert, but I need to keep my money. I have 3 kids. I want them to have something. When I pass away, the wealth should still be here. So I don't know how to do it. So I'm learning it and I'm sharing the journey with you. That's the best way of filling pipeline, by creating content that pulls people into your story. If you're a cook, write about the recipes. Oh, today I did cut my finger. My goodness, I should know better, right? And guys, I am on my way to becoming a twice Michelin star cook in my area, and there is no Michelin star in my area. So, do you want to? Are you interested? Do you want to join the journey? Will I make it to 2 Michelin stars or not? And I'm saying I want to double my net worth every 3.8 years. Will I make it? I don't know. Let's find out. I'm doing it in public. You can call me out if I don't. You can give me ideas. If you're smart, give me ideas. And so let's learn together. Like, that's the best way of filling pipeline. It's content that it's about the journey. I'm going from here to there. Are you interested? Do you want to join the journey?
Yeah, that's fantastic. What a great thought. And I find there's a lot of people, they like to see the value added content of, hey, here's a tactical idea that I can implement. But I find when I'm a little more vulnerable or share real life journey related, personal journey related items that are insightful, and sometimes not even insightful, I'll get 10x the engagement as I will on what I would consider micro MBA level. Like, here's an actionable thing, go make more money. People don't care as much about that as they do about engaging with the human element of me, or you. And I appreciate that you're leading out that way, because it's not easy to show vulnerability.
I'll give you one final nugget from the
Please.
strategy sprints method. You pick one lane. I give you 3 options. You either make people smarter, you make them richer, or you make them happier. That's it. You pick one and you stay with that the next 10 years. If you make them smarter, your content will be mini MBAs.
Mm-hmm.
If you make them happier, your content will be about the Dalai Lama, what he does when he wakes up. And if you make them richer, then you will share your journey of becoming richer. This is how you make content that pulls people in, because we don't care about features, we don't care about tools, we care about the journey. We are all on a journey. And if I find somebody who is on the same journey, that's interesting to me. Hey, we are people, we are on the same journey, let's talk.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. Simon, you've shared a lot of great nuggets with us today. I appreciate you making time to join the Advisory Board podcast. Tell me, what's the best way? You mentioned a few times a URL. What's the best way for people to find you? Sounds like you're active on a few platforms. Maybe share just a few minutes. How can people find you and engage with you and the team if they've got interest in learning more?
Sure. The book is on Amazon. It's called Strategy Sprints. Our website is strategysprints.com. This is how you can get to talk to us. If you like YouTube, Simon Severino High Ticket Sales is my YouTube channel. If you like X, at Simon Severino.
Awesome. Simon, I appreciate you sharing your insights and so many nuggets today that I think are actionable, people could take advantage of right away. So thanks so much for spending time with us.
Thanks, Dave. Keep rolling, man.
Thanks.